22 clubs, there are just 2 black managers in the game. But there's now change in the wind thanks to something the Americans call Rooney's Rule. Nothing to do with Wayne Rooney. It's the name of a US football team owner who has made it his business to force his sport to give black players a fair chance at managing. His rule means that there has to be a black applicant for every coaching vacancy. And it works so well that the English leagues are now taking an interest. Kami and Zarin reports from the USA.
Portland State University football coach Nigel Burton, in case you hadn't noticed, African-American, barking orders, tearing strips off his players.
You're playing like because you ain't paying attention.
And they'd better pay attention, because Coach Burton is very much the gaffer.
Now that's something that you don't see very often back in England. A black manager on the sidelines, in charge, calling the shots. But he didn't get there by accident.
Many college players here are black, yet somehow almost all the coaches were white. So Oregon, one of the whitest states in America, decided to actually change the law. Now, whenever its universities have a coaching vacancy, they have to interview at least one minority applicant. Portland State approached Coach Burton. They were impressed. And who knows whether they would have hired him anyway, but he was given the job.
Anything that just makes people say, okay, let me step back and look at someone else, even if maybe it's at the beginning not fully bought into, you can change the game.
I was worried that it would lead to a lot of sort of fake interviews where you just bring in somebody of color just to go through that motion, and it would just be a charade. Having thought about it more, I think that in the long run it will actually lead to more people of color being hired.
Which is exactly what has happened at the national level.
Standing the play and wide open is Des Bryant. Touchdown.
A decade ago, of 32 clubs, there were just 3 black head coaches, yet 75% of players are black. Activist lawyers threatened to sue the league. They responded by agreeing a new hiring code. The impact has changed the face of football. Just like in Oregon, any senior coaching vacancy and at least one minority applicant must be interviewed. No guarantees of jobs, just interviews. And it's a voluntary agreement rather than the law. Affirmative action light. They called it the Rooney Rule after one of the club owners who devised it. And 8 years later, the NFL now has 8 black head coaches, nearly a 300% increase. One of the most successful, Lovie Smith at the Chicago Bears.
I'm in this position based a lot on the Rooney Rule and opening people's eyes to just look and give other people an opportunity. And I'm not talking about just hire someone, give other people an opportunity to come in front of you and let them prove what they can do.
Contrast that with England. Of our 92 clubs, there are only 2 black managers, Chris Powell at Charlton Athletic and Chris Hughton at Birmingham City. Neither of them are in the Premier League. So why just 2 when 25% of players are black? And recent research conducted by the Professional Footballers Association found roughly the same number, 21%, of trainee coaches are black too. The answer? Many aren't even getting interviews. Former Arsenal player Paul Davis now coaches the coaches. He abandoned his dream of coaching players after one too many unanswered applications.
I say to players, look, you need your qualification, and some of them just smile and smirk in my face as if to say, Paul, you want me to go through 7, 8 years of getting all the qualifications. And at the end of it, I don't see any opportunity for me to get a decent job in the game.
Which of today's black stars might one day choose the manager's bench? If football's going to start planning for the long term and interviewing a wider range of applicants, it needs to change from its very roots, which requires the FA to call the shots.
Do you think you're doing enough?
Well, I think in terms of the qualifications, we're encouraging the black players to make sure they get their qualifications. The FA in charge of that. There are other things they can do around it, but ultimately it rests with the clubs. They are the employers. They're the ones who hire and fire.
While the all-powerful Premier League initially showed interest in an English Rooney Rule, they now say it amounts to filling quotas and would be impossible. In the lower divisions, though, it's different. When it comes to managers, there's a bigger pool of qualified candidates. And the Football League promised Channel 4 News there will soon be movement.
Are we still going to be talking about this in a year's time?
Oh, of course we will. Of course we will.
And nothing will have changed?
No, I think what we'll have done within a year is come up with a set of measures for consultation.
But consultation is consultation, and you yourself say it's got to be more than that, it's got to be action.
What we have to do is engage with our clubs and give them a chance to set this as a priority action. I will be recommending we actually come up with a set of measures to address this, because I think it will be really good for the culture of football in this country.
And that will happen this year?
That will happen this year.
Get it right and England can look to America to see the results. Ask black players what they'll do when they retire. The field, one might say, has been levelled.
Is coaching something you would ever consider?
Yes, I would consider it, just because, just my love for the game and, the knowledge that I receive from other coaches makes me, want to give back to younger people. So, yeah, I would consider it.
Do you think the doors have been opened a little bit?
Yeah, all the way. There's no discrimination. I think it's, whoever's the best coach is going to coach.
Football, this is, but not quite as we know it. And the English version has a lot to think about. Kami Enzerum, Channel 4 News, Portland, Oregon.